Hello and welcome to another technical takedown the hard way. In today's video, we're going to be talking about our ethos when it comes to designing and building our Overland rig. So what are going to be the three key features of the rig which is going to make our journey, this long expedition, as pleasant as possible for the family. So, before I even get to that, we need to make sure that the rig has three key features. It needs to be simple, it needs to be safe, and it needs to have accessibility. Okay, and we're going to go into these three today because if we don't have any of those three, if any of those three are missing, life can be difficult. Okay, let us explain. So let's talk about simplicity. The rig needs to be simple. Okay. Why does it need to be simple? Because there are going to be times in which I'm going to be 1,000 miles from anyone who will be able to help me repair the vehicle or repair the electronics, repair the electrics within the vehicle. So I'm going to need to know how to do that myself. Okay, I'm not an electrician, but I need to be able to do that myself. So how do I get around that? I get around that by helping with the build. Doing as much of the build myself. This is really important because clearly I'll know my own work. And there are plenty of things that need to be done with people who are professionals. I'm not going to be able to do the electrics for the vehicle. However, if somebody else is going to be doing the electrics, I am going to be working with that person. So if something does go wrong, if a fuse needs changing, if a battery needs changing, I will be able to do that myself. Or I will have other ways how to change or to start the car, even bump starting the car. This can be difficult with an automatic, and this car is going to be an automatic. So I'm going to need to sort of think about scenarios, think about things happening, and then plan for those bad things happening. One of the things I was thinking about was the storage unit towards the rear that I'm planning to build out of carbon fiber composites. So if I'm making these things, I'm putting them into the back of the car. You got to remember, in a lot of vehicles, this could hinder access to the battery, because in a lot of vehicles, the batteries are now in the rear of the car and not in the engine bay. So actually, this ties in a lot with accessibility. So I need to have access to those batteries just in case something goes wrong. So when I'm building this and when I'm designing this rear storage compartment, it's really important that I design it with access to the batteries in mind. Because let's say I leave the battery running, the battery runs out of the car, and all the doors are closed. How am I going to get into the car to change the battery? Oh, simple. There's a key, right? There's a key that you can have, and you can open the door to the car. Okay, so now you've gained entrance to the car. Now open the boot. It's not going to be possible in most cars because most cars don't have mechanical boots anymore. They don't work unless you are, unless it's an actual mechanical mechanism. And most cars don't have that anymore. So the only way you're going to be able to open that boot, it's going to be virtually impossible if you've got this huge storage unit behind, on top of it, right? Or behind it or to the side of it. It's going to be almost impossible. So you need to be able to find a way of starting your car from the outside so you can gain access. All these things link together. They all link together. Safety, of course, is going to be paramount. That goes without saying. I'm going to need to make sure that the car is safe, child-proof, This is part of the reason why we're getting a new car as opposed to using an older vehicle. I think older vehicles just aren't as safe. They weren't built to be safe, of course. And of course, with the off-roaders that you have today, they are continuously being pushed by authorities, say the European regulators, to make cars as safe as possible. So cars get more airbags, they get more electronics, they get a lot more computers inside trying to read you, trying to read everything else. It's really important that we are able to recognize this. I forgot what I was saying, but yeah, it's really important that we have safety in mind. Period. The newer cars just are much safer. That's why they're bigger. That's why they are normally quite heavy, because they are safer. They have more airbags, better crumple zones, sturdier roll cages. They have the ability to roll without destroying the whole car, like that would happen if you had a car from 20 years ago. So it's really important we make sure that that we have safety in mind when we are building the car. This is part of the reason also why I'm getting other people to do the electrics in the car. Because if I get other people to do the electrics in the car, if I get professionals to do it, then clearly things are going to be done safer than if I would have done a DIY job at home. So, like I said before, safety, get somebody else to do it. Simplicity, knowing what other people have done to it, so I need to be there just in case so I can fix the car myself. Accessibility, what if something needs to be done in the car? I need to be able to find a way, to access the car, from the outside. Not just that as well. So like I'm saying, so all these three features work with one another. Okay. Another safe, when it comes to access as well to the vehicle, you've got to remember where we're going. We're going to places where there are animals. There are cats the size of, two fully sized grown men, and we've got kids around. We need to make sure that those kids have access to the car, easier access to the car. And the way we do that is by I'm going to have the footsteps to the side of the car. At one point I was thinking about putting rock sliders, but nah, because they weigh over 100 kilos. I'm not going to stick on 100 kilos for rock sliding when we're not planning on going rock sliding. I do want to protect the undercarriage, and I was considering building a undercarriage protector out of carbon fiber. But I think that would be too costly, and I don't think it would protect the car that much, if you know what I mean. One thing it would do is it would give us the ability to drive with less drag, because the undercarriage of a car, you'd be surprised of how much drag that actually gives to a car when you drive in at speed. So I was thinking about doing an undercarriage. I might do one later, but for now I'm going to keep it simple and keep the car as stock as possible. That's, once again, simplicity. Simple. Keeping the car as stock as possible is also simple. Why? Because if something does go wrong with the car, you can call up Land Rover, you can call up Nissan, you can call up Toyota and say, oh, ABC is wrong with the car. If you haven't had it heavily modified, then great. Then you don't have to worry, because they'll know exactly what you're talking about. But if you've stuck another 2 turbochargers onto your 3-litre V6, you're going to have to do some extensive modifications to do that, and it might void your warranty anyway. So what's the point? There's no point in doing that. The most important part is to find a car which can do all the job from stock. The more stock it is, the more capable it is from being stock, the better. Okay, so that's what we are looking at. This is going to make things easier for us as well. We don't want to spend tons of money on modifying a car, but we do realize that we're going to be living it out of this car, and it's going to need a certain degree of modifications. So those are the 3 most important aspects of the build of this Overland build. That's what we're going to be focused on. And it's going to give us the ability to overland a bit more carefree without thinking too much about the car every single day. Okay, so yeah, that's probably what I would suggest you do too. If you're planning an overland build, keep it simple, have safety in mind, and think about accessibility, not just for your kids, but for you too. It's important that you enjoy your journey and not just see it as a burden. Like Dan Grech says, at the end of the journey, you want to be able to get back and say, wow, let's plan our next expedition, instead of getting back and saying, oh, thank goodness, we've just made it back. I'll never do that again. And that's what we're planning to do. We want to continue doing this. So we need to get this right from the get-go. So that's all I've got time for today. I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.